Hey everyone, welcome back. We're back in the T-54 in Arctic region. Now this is a map I don't have too many problems with. I enjoy it most of the time. But today we're not going to be talking about the gameplay so much as, well, I have a little something else to talk about. I have a sad story to tell. Yeah, I know, sad. Why would I want to tell a sad story? Why would I want to try to make everyone sad? Well, that's not really my goal. It just so happens to be a sad story. It got brought to my attention the other day. And I decided, you know what, it might be a good topic, and, well, why am I trying to make you guys sad? I'm not trying to make you sad, but why would I do this? Well, I feel that there's a little bit of a lesson to be learned in there. So, I mean, don't feel like you have to feel pity for me or anything. But, now, let me take you into the background of the story. So, the year is 2002. Now, I'm in grade 4. And in my grade 4 class, there's a new kid that year. Well, it wasn't that uncommon. That seemed to happen every year. There was a new kid or two. Now this guy, his name was, oh boy. Mom, if you're watching, change. Go watch somebody else's video. You will be sad. But this guy's name was Richard. Now, Richard was a pretty cool guy. He was a kind of guy that he could hang out with the, air quote, cool kids, which I was not one of. And yet he chose to hang out with me. Now, he became my best friend over the next month or so, which is awesome. I didn't really have many friends. People I normally hung out with before were people that I don't think really cared about my presence too much. I just kind of followed them around and tried to fit in. But now, bad things started happening to Richard. He got cancer. Now, this is grade 4. He would have been, what, 9, 10 years old? I think, if I did my math right, roughly that age. Now, for somebody that young, cancer is a big deal. I mean, if you're 40, yeah, it's still a huge deal, but I mean, you're an adult. You can, I don't know, it's just seen a little bit different in my mind. Now, he got cancer, and it was a tumor in what I believe was his kidney. Now, forgive me my time perception, exactly when stuff happened back then. That was it's 11 or so years ago now for me. And my knowledge of the human anatomy back then was absolutely terrible, so my memories of such things is not any better. So in his kidney, he got a tumor, cancerous tumor. Now this, of course, resulted in him losing a kidney, which a person could live with one. I mean, there's some downsides to it, but I won't get into that. So long story short, he lost a kidney. The class had all sent him a get well card signed by the whole class, as well as a few goodies. I think there was like a huge teddy bear, you know, stuff that you would send to make someone feel better. And eventually he did return to class. It was kind of lonely for me. Of course, I lost my best friend for a while. But soon enough, he was back in class. Life carried on. And, you know, he got better. He had a neat scar to show for it, but he got better. Now, this went on until, well, it was all good until about, I don't know when this would have been, maybe end of grade 4, beginning of grade 5, somewhere around then. The cancer came back. Now, this time it came back in his back, I believe. Now, a whole treatment went through again. He had more chemotherapy and radiation treatments. So, you know, if you know what chemotherapy does to a person, it kills fast-growing cells in the human body, which includes the tumor. However, it also includes stuff like your finger and toenails and your hair. Now, I don't think he ever lost any finger or toenails, but I know he lost his hair. I remember he had his head shaved because he'd wake up in the morning and his pillow would just be covered in hair, from what he had told me. Like, more than you could imagine. So it went on. He got past that, another operation, and more months of sickness. And then later on, this is probably nearing the end of grade 5 now, maybe halfway through it, I'm not too sure. He got cancer again for a third time, this time in his lung. So this resulted in him losing part of his lung. Once again, he got over it, but he lost part of his lung. And what we used to do a lot at that point in time was we were kind of we saw ourselves as some of the faster people, faster runners in the class, in the grade. And we like to run around. We like to see how fast we could run, who was faster, like to race people. You know, it's recess, and you're in grade 5 now. So, you know, typical stuff, I guess. Now, this is a bit of a problem for him, because now that he's missing part of his lung, he loses his breath so fast, and also considering everything else he's went through, you know, his body's just not quite up to par anymore. It's tough for him. So, you can get by though. He managed. You get used to it. Life goes on, once again, until grade 6. Now, grade 6, I think the third cancer carried on until that time, but sometime in grade 6, he was diagnosed for a 4th time. Now, where this time? Well, the brain. Now, if you know anything about the brain, you'll know that we don't know very much about it. It can be a pretty sensitive area. It's not good. Now, a brain tumor, oftentimes, you have 2 options. One, try to operate, risk killing the person, and even if you do succeed, have a very high chance that they'll just never ever be the same again, like in a wheelchair, very mentally challenged. It's not a good life. It's not a life that I would want. It's not good. And your second option is to just let the cancer run its course, and that would of course be the end. Now, what they chose to do, which I can't blame them at all, it's probably, I would have done the same thing. Actually, I'll get into that in just a second, but I remember visiting him in the hospital when he had it for the 4th time, and they had a Nintendo 64 hooked up there, and if you don't know what that is, that's an old game system. He was hardly even able to lift the controller. He couldn't play, at the time it was like Super Mario Kart or something like that they had there. He wasn't even able to lift the controller and play it because he was just so exhausted from the cancer and all the medications and all that. All he could do was really just lay there. Talking was even a challenge for him. He did a lot of sleeping. But what they ended up doing was just letting the cancer run its course. So December 14th, 2004, I lost my best friend. It was a sad day. Let's just say that the next few weeks resulted in a wet pillow every night. It's something I still think of a lot. But once again, I'm not trying to get you guys to feel pity for me. It's just the life story you could see in it is, don't take what you have for granted. You never know when it's going to be taken away from you. You never know what you're going to have in the future. I mean, if he was still around today, what would his life be like? Where would he be right now? Would he be in college like I am? Would he be in university? Would I still be in the same place as I've been? I mean, would I have made the same friends? Would I have still gone to the same high school? Or would I have gone to a different one because maybe he was going to a different one? Or maybe would I have regardless gone to the one I did? I don't know. I don't know. And you can only wonder. Now, there was this program that during his time sick, and maybe even the time after, was there in place to help him and his family, to help to make their lives a little bit better, and that was called the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which I swear, if I ever start ringing in the millions of dollars, I'm going to make a hefty donation to, because I think that made a huge impact on his life. But what they did is they allowed, I think maybe once a year or so, a kid to make a wish for any item that he wanted, really. Now, I know that one year he asked for a PlayStation 2 and a GameCube, because those were the big systems at the time, or at least among them. And they ended up giving him both. I mean, he wanted one or the other, but they gave him both, which is awesome. And then another year, they gave him a hot tub, which his whole family, of course, benefited from that one. He had a lot of siblings, so I mean, the game systems, I'm sure they were around and for another several years and still heavily used. I remember going to his place, and it was like the whole gang, 6 of us, around the GameCube playing Super Mario Kart or something. So those were some fun times too. I think that the Make-A-Wish Foundation really did make a huge difference in his life. But You can only do so much. And in his honor, our school had created an award that at the end of every year, somebody from each class, there was 2 classes of each grade, somebody in each class would get an award dedicated to him. Now this award was kind of reserved for a person like him. So a pretty generous person who didn't really ask for much. And I mean, at the end of grade 6, that award was given for the first time. Now that award went to me, which I imagine was because I was his best friend. Maybe people felt pity, or maybe people actually felt that I deserved it. I wasn't a bad guy, I don't think. I didn't ask for much. I minded my own business. And the other person who got the award was a guy, of course, in the other class. And he turned out the next year to become my next best friend. So kind of a funny coincidence. But hey, that's what life's got for you. You never know what's going to happen. And the funny thing is, up until that point, I don't really care for the guy. I don't like him. But yeah, thanks everyone for sticking around, listening to my story. Hopefully you thought about it. Hopefully you realize, you know, some things aren't there forever. You wish they were, but they're not. So I'll see you next time. Hopefully you enjoyed. Bye-bye. Don't cry. It'll be okay.